Hello and welcome one and all to episode 79 of the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your host, the adorable Anders Carlson. And with me today is the marvelous Maxine Newman.
Hello.
The effervescent Evan Simonet.
Not only does that word not describe me at all, but I just hate the way it sounds.
You're glowing. You always have a nice glow to you. The fantastic Fischer. Andrew Fischer.
Yeah, well, we had like 3 A adjectives to add, so I just went by my last name.
And last but not least, the ambitious Andrew Navarro.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Nothing if not ambitious.
That's true. It fits. So we got effervescent, ambitious, and other words that I can't remember now. Adorable. Drop a like down below if you think I'm adorable. And
lowest liked episode.
Oh, boo.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that, Fischer.
I'm the one who wrote it for you.
That's true. Fischer's back. It's fantastic to have you back.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's I'm a little sad I missed the last episode. It was right at the end of my post UK Games Expo kind of England tourism, and I looking at my calendar, I was like, we're recording. It's only like midnight in England. I could just stay up late and record. But I was getting on a flight fairly early the next morning, and I had to drive 2 hours to get to the airport first. And I'm so glad I didn't stay up. That would have been a bad decision.
Yeah.
Totally bad decision.
It was very funny that we had a whole conversation about Philip, and you're like, who's Philip?
Yeah, wasn't that fun? Did you watch the episode to figure it out?
I have not watched the whole episode yet. I'm sorry.
So you still don't know?
Unbelievable.
I still don't know.
Oh, yeah. Andrew explained it.
I
He's
did
my
spoil
lower,
it a little bit.
He's my lower third.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And I had even more questions about the explanation.
I'm very tall, and I'm just 3 people in a trench coat. That's the joke.
You know, that would track. When I first met you in person, you were coming down into my basement, and I just remember, like, as you're coming down the stairs, you just kept going, like, you know,
So you
like
met
there was
Philip
just more
first.
Anders. Yeah, I met Philip first.
Hello. He said, "Where's Anders?" I'm not that tall.
Compared to me,
funny.
everyone's tall.
You're not that short. I met you.
Pretty short.
No, and I also I get like kind of anxious when I meet somebody after I've known them in this capacity first, because I don't want them to comment on it. I remember I just ran into you, Andrew Navarro. Just ran into you at the coffee shop first time I met you.
Yeah.
And you said, "Holy shit!
What
You're adorable,
man!"
Adorable giant."
I should have prepared you on, Andrew, for that.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's a hot day, and I wanted to say hello to Andrew's mom. I'm the teacher on staff. If you know, you know. The 4 people who are recording this podcast know. Andrew's mom is listening.
That's right.
I just learned that today.
Yeah, every episode she listens to at least this part of the podcast.
Yeah, the banter.
Yes.
And then she skips to the games we're playing section.
No, I think then she just gets out. She just,
Oh.
Boring. She says to herself. That's interesting though. I should tell my mom about this too, because I probably am far more expressive and animated on here than she's ever seen me be. You know how you get into kind of like a routine with your family where you're not...
Yeah. I'm not the best when it comes to like regular communication with my parents, so this is a really good way for her to keep tabs on what's going on in my life, at least one aspect of it.
Yeah. I do know this is kind of a morbid thought, but since having a child, I have about 10 or 12 morbid thoughts a day.
Sure.
and actually, there's not a thought that I have that doesn't lead to a morbid thought. But
7 degrees of separation, you know.
I've often thought, I hope that you don't ever delete this podcast, because if anything should ever happen to me and my daughter doesn't get to know the real me, she has hours of content.
That's right.
Well, she'll only know your podcast self, you know.
That's better than
who I am,
right?
Yeah.
Better than nothing. That's true.
She'll be like, I want to spend time with my dad, and then there's these 4 other assholes.
Oh, yeah. Well, then she'd come to know us as her like an extended family, you know. Like that's almost like the plot of a movie you're talking about.
I've had that thought as well. I've had that thought as well. She'll get to know you guys, and she'll feel connected to you, and maybe she'll seek you out. And then she'll ask more about me, and all you'll know is my stupid podcast host self.
Your brilliant, adorable podcast host self, you mean.
Gigantic.
That's right.
This has been a very me-centric intro. Let's move
Yeah,
along.
that's fine.
Let's move along. Let's move along the show a little bit. We have a featured topic this week, so get excited about that. We've got the mailbag. I'm going to be talking about my new Switch 2. I have a few thoughts. Looks like this. Is this good looking?
Oh, yeah,
sure nobody's said.
Sure looks like a Switch.
That's what my screen looks like.
Hey, that's us.
Kickstand. Kickstand's nice.
That is cool.
If you ever use that, which I never do. Anyway, I'll be sharing my thoughts about that and Cyberpunk on Nintendo Switch 2. I've never teased my thing before, but I think people might be interested.
Doing what you can to get people to stay for the talk at the end.
See if we can get my mom to stay for the Switch 2 talk.
Yeah.
I'm also going to be talking about knitting.
Ooh.
Crocheting, maybe?
Crocheting. Bridge? What is she into? Just kidding. Enough with the ageism.
Now she switched it off.
Yeah.
Never again.
Comment below what you're actually into. Break the stigma of the bridge playing.
She does not play bridge or knit.
Has any of you ever played bridge? What is that?
Oh, yeah.
It's in the newspaper?
Yeah,
why is it in the newspaper?
Why is it in the
It's in the
newspaper? It's a card
newspaper?
game.
Why is it?
Is it?
I feel like in like the crosswords and stuff, there's like a little bridge.
Oh, is there like a bridge
Like a bridge puzzle?
Oh, sure.
Oh, maybe. Maybe that's it. Anywho, let's move on to what's happening. What's happening, Fischer? You're back. Do you want to share about UKGE?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Andrew already shared a decent amount of UK Games Expo. It was a busy one. I did want to, like, a bunch of people came up to me who listened to the podcast and talked to me, and I wanted to thank all of you. There was one of our listeners came up and like thanked me for sharing my, all of my productivity system, and they used it to like get through their thesis, and like there was a bunch of other meaningful conversations I had with people. But I also wanted to say I'm sorry to all of you, because this was a very frantic show for us, and especially I was like running the Rangers table, and so like most of the time I got a chance to talk to all of you, it was like between demos, or like I'd be running to like some meeting is waiting on me in the wings, and so like I felt like I was always kind of in a rush. So I really appreciate getting to talk with all of you, and I hope in the future I could do so in a slightly less busy context. But this show was we had a lot of activity at the booth, and we were running a lot of demos. Like we probably could have had, I don't know how much you talked about this, Andrew. We probably could have had an extra person at the booth. So,
oh yeah, I mentioned that.
Okay, yeah. And so I think hopefully at PAX Unplugged we'll be a little more properly distributed, and I'll have a little bit more time to talk to you all. So I'll look forward to that. But thank you so much to everybody who said hi. It was great seeing you all, and it was great seeing people from Europe who we really haven't had as much chance to interact with, who don't make it out to the North American cons. So that was super cool. But overall, it was a pretty good show. I thought, like, I was mostly running Rangers demos, but they went really well, and we had Wayne, the artist for all the moment arts, run demos on Saturday. Of the art on Andrew's shirt there. And so he ran demos, and he was fantastic at it. Like, he was all nervous when he got there, but he was like, he was great. I think his demo was a lot more chill than my more kind of frantic demoing. And like it fit really well with kind of the Rangers vibe. So if any of you got a chance to demo with me or Wayne, definitely chime in and let us know how it went, because I at least had a lot of fun this time around.
Nice.
And what was your highlight after you went a little?
Yeah, you did some extra stuff.
Yeah, I did it was a little fast because I needed to get back, and like, Sam was soloing Wyatt here while I was gone, but I did some time in London. I went to like Ye Olde Cheshire Cheese and the Globe Theatre and the British Museum, and then after London, I rented a car, and for a day I drove down to the Jurassic Coast and did a couple hikes along the southern coast down there. And I actually think that probably is my highlight. It was just super nice. Like, the weather originally was supposed to be bad, but it ended up being beautiful. And you get the breeze off the sea that kind of keeps it, you get kind of that like ocean air, and it kind of kept it from being too warm. And I'm walking through this very idyllic countryside, and you walk along these really dramatic cliffs on the Jurassic Coast. And then I would, and then you kind of loop in at the end, and then loop around and through these like little villages down there. And I was sharing, because when I was in London, one of the things I did is I went to high tea, and I ate a pretty ludicrously expensive meal with like fancy tea and like a tiered thing with all these like little finger cakes, and like it was delicious.
Just you?
Yeah, just me. They put me next to another person eating by herself, and we both sat there reading and like eating our tea, and it was actually pretty nice. But I did that, and then I did this hike, and as I was going through this village, there was like this farm that advertised having this tea house, and so I went to this farm, and they were just like serving some like breakfast food and like local baked goods made out of like local apples, and they had like a tea set up there. So I sat down at this farm and had tea and this lunch, and in total, it cost like £5, which is just a like fraction of what high tea in London costs, like this minuscule fraction of what high tea in London costs. And I'm like, high tea might have like been a little more elaborate, but I don't know that it was that much better than like just sitting on this farm drinking this tea, like for £5, like tea and lunch for £5. So
that's pretty good. That's cheap.
Yeah,
it was super cheap, and it was really good. Like, they had this big apple cake that was like, they kind of said it was like one of the local specialties. So I got that, and it was like, I'm eating this delicious apple cake and just drinking tea while looking over the countryside on this farm. And I was like, so I think like that is, as you get like a week or two out from the trip, certain memories like are more kind of crystallized in your brain. That moment of like sitting on that farm is a lot more. The neurons are a lot more crystallized on that one than other stuff.
That's cool. Probably just less stimuli, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of like can just sit there and reflect on it. And it was cool, like reflecting back. Like, I think the context of having done the bougie high tea experience in London and then doing this, like that contrast ended up being very kind of seeing the two sides of it. Like, it was very cool. And being able to reflect on that while I was sitting there, I think probably also helped the memory. But I think that's kind of my highlight, was hiking along the southern coast and getting to explore those little villages down there.
Sounds like an indie movie from 2008.
And that's where I found myself.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome. What's this? How's Eidolon playtesting going? Let me ask you that.
That's in the what's happening sphere. I felt like we should probably just mention where Eidolon's at. Like, Corey isn't a regular on our podcast, but after our Game Found, we mentioned we were going to testing, and we have gone to testing. So we're in our kind of big, hopefully final closed alpha for the game. And we've got the whole set, and we're playing, like, we're doing a lot of like more competitive play, and we're going to do a tournament bracket and things. So that's been underway, and already been finding some good stuff, but the reception's been really good. So that's my kind of update on where Eidolon's at.
I was excited to hear in the design meeting this morning on some of the tweaks that are being done, because I've been playing with those cards as well, and sounds like it's all kind of like trending towards more action, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Like, Michael's doing some good adjustments to kind of the costing curve to help with balance. I think like the general distribution of what set one is focusing on seems to be playing really well, like the mechanics we're focusing on here. I think there's one seeker that might be getting the boot, or at least getting booted to a later set because their abilities just not quite working with the mechanics we have here. But it's not a seeker you've seen yet, so it means nothing to. It was one of our unannounced seekers.
Yeah.
And any updates on fulfillment?
Oh, sure. Yes, we can talk about that.
These are just things that are on my mind. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Always on your mind.
Yeah.
Not reading.
Think about it all week. I'm sure.
Yeah.
2 week. All 2 week.
Yeah. So yeah, fulfillment is fully underway in the States. I think it's getting going in Canada right now as well. Based on what I've seen, some of the reports coming in. So that's really exciting. It's actually out there on all coasts and in Canada. So yeah, it's cool seeing it actually show up. And someone started Kanji on his channel. It's a YouTube channel. He did a solo playthrough of Rangers about, maybe it was like 2 years ago at this point, I guess, or a year ago, I guess. Year and a half. I can't even remember how long it's been. But he started his solo playthrough of Legacy of the Ancestors yesterday. So that's really exciting to see it actually out there and in people's hands. I haven't really been paying too close attention to the Discord because everyone else is, and I don't want to be reminded of some of the production issues out of Delano that I know exist, which I've already gone through the grieving process of. But I got a really great DM from somebody yesterday. Just really, really sweet of them to reach out and say that they're, that they feel for me and for us to see like some of these production issues. But we're incredibly supportive and want the game to be a huge success. And I think that's where a lot of our, especially people on our Discord, the position that they're coming from, where they know that to fulfill the vision of producing sustainably and doing domestic production, that there's going to be some learning and some growing pains in that, and that they're willing to come along with us on that journey and see improvement over time, especially as we continue to work with our domestic factory and their skills improve. So it was really nice of them to reach out to say that, and I know that there are other people on the Discord who feel the same way. So that's really great to have that support, and it's really very much appreciated and it means a lot. But for me right now, like, it's all that stuff's in the past. Like, all we can do is just do right by our backers and our customers. So if anyone's listening to this and encounters any of those issues with their game, whether they be a damaged card or a wildly miscut card or something, that will happily replace that for you. So you can have a great experience with the game going forward into the future.
Yeah, you can reach out to support@nailergames.com to help out with that.
Yeah, or at info@earthbornegames.com.
Yes.
We'll forward along to them. or just post on the Discord. We'll find it. Just add us there. But yeah, so that's been pretty great. So that's on the US front. On the European front, I think the last episode I'd said that we were still kind of waiting to see what the solution was for the to fixing the damage on those card packs that we discovered very, very last minute, right before assembly of Stewards of the Valley. And I just got an update from Frank at Ludifact this morning. And the reprinted cards are done. We're printing a little explainer card that's going to go on top that tells people like what this extra pack of cards is. It's going to be a pack of 18 cards. So the top 9 cards of each pack. It's probably a little bit of overkill, but it's because most of the if there are any damages at all, because there have been packs that where they opened them and they found no damage. But most of the ones that were damaged was like the top 5 or 6 cards. So this is just intended to, cover the bases just in case anything goes beyond that. And if you get unlucky enough to get a really damaged card, then you could just contact us and we'll replace it. But anyway, so we're doing this extra pack. It'll have the top 9 cards of each pack in there, and that assembly is going to be happening next week. So it sounds like, and then Frank's hot to move that stuff out, because it's just taking up space, because it's supposed to be gone by now when they're, factories got to move things out. So he's kind of hot to get it out as soon as possible. So if all goes to plan, we should be shipping out of Ludipact in like 2 weeks. So then that stuff should be on the way to our foreign partners and to our fulfillment centers. And then European fulfillment can get underway, hopefully in July. So that is exciting too. I guess this isn't in shipping and fulfillment, but I can't think of anywhere else to put it. Vinyl update: the lacquers have been delivered to the facility where the masters are going to be, where the test pressings are going to be done. So those should be coming soon. So I'm excited for that. And we also launched our new merch store, which I was just talking to Joe about this morning. We've already had a bunch of orders on. I think we already have more orders on there than we had on our Printful store.
Nice.
But
this one can ship internationally.
Yes.
Yes,
this one ships internationally. This is a shirt from there. It's a little higher quality than I think the shirts we were getting from Printful, and I think the quality of the printing is improved as well. And they have a little bit more area that they can cover, so everything's a little bit wider and bigger, which is cool. But what's really nice about them is they align with our sustainability mission. Unlike Printful, which was just put t-shirts in plastic bags and send them out. This place uses like organic cotton. They have a fully their facility is 100% renewable energy. They ship everything in paper instead of plastic. So it's pretty cool that we finally came around to having this new merchandise partner, because we did the Printful store. We didn't realize that it only ships to the US, so we switched to a different one. We had that one all ready to go. We got samples from there. That was like a worldwide one, but it was pretty much just like Printful in every other way. But then someone at this other place called T-Mill was a fan of Rangers, then reached out to us and said, essentially told their boss, like, we should do these guys merch. So
that's awesome.
They contacted really cool. us, and then we got on board with them. So new merch store is up. So get your Wayne O'Connor shirts. Joe's working on a couple other of his designs to see if we can add those to the store. Only downside is they don't have tank tops. Yeah. I got 2 notices about tank tops in the Covenant Discord today, and I was like, you guys should have bought a tank top when they were available at Printful. Like, now they're gone.
I know how much you like tank tops too, Andrew. You could just rip off your sleeves.
Did you get your tank tops in before Printful shop went down?
The only tank top I got was the one that I gave to Fischer, was the sample one. It was too big.
I've got a fitness aspect tank top, which is
that's pretty great.
One of a kind fitness aspect.
Perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect. And what's this I hear about? I hear murmurings about a shadow drop.
I put this on the what's happening list, mostly because I was reading the Discord after last episode, and there was a lot of speculation about this shadow drop. Which is hilarious to me. Like, given the context of all these podcast episodes, that there'd be a ton of where the speculation is gone has surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are we going to shadow drop an entire RPG? Are we shadow dropping? What is it? What's it going to be? There was also there's a listener question that I didn't put in that part of the show notes because it kind of folds into this specifically about wanting to know about this. So I guess do we have anything to further clarify about?
I do want to ask your guys' opinion. Like, does it count as a shadow drop if we talk about it at all? Like, I don't.
I suppose it's already not like a complete shadow drop,
right?
It's still yeah.
Like, all we're saying is this is my fault. All I was saying is, like, I feel like the next thing we do, I just don't want to announce it till it's ready, because I don't want to. I don't want to go through the whole like pre-order worries about stuff being delivered and all that stuff. Just, as soon as it's ready, then we'll announce it, and you can get it, which is cool. Which it's not the same as, like, we're secretly developing Oblivion remastered for 5 years and then
secretly
suddenly release. Right.
I mean, people already knew I was working on something. I wasn't just like, twiddling my thumbs for a year.
Right.
So.
I guess just to give people, to set some expectations, Maxine is the lead designer of Earthborne Rangers.
The card game. the game that's in existence.
Yes.
I mean, admittedly, I think we have hinted on this podcast that she is helping with other things, but
right.
Is it bigger than a bread box? It would be a pretty
elaborate ruse.
I'm sorry, what,
Anders?
Yeah.
Is it bigger than a bread box?
How?
No.
How big of a bread box?
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, no one knows what a bread box looks like.
I don't even think Rangers, the entire core set of Rangers, is bigger than a bread box. I mean, maybe in one dimension, but
yeah, no, probably not. You could fit a couple small loaves of bread in there, though. For tea bread.
Artisanal breads, yeah.
My parents,
if I just picture a shoebox, because I don't know what a bread box is.
I think a bread box is slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Bread box would be bread box is the thing like you have on your countertop that you put your loaf of bread in, right, and then put the lid on top. Very, very modern thing. The bread box.
My parents put all their bread in the microwave.
Oh, they store it in the microwave?
Yeah, they store it in the microwave, which makes sense, but it's so frustrating every time I need to like heat something up, and I'm like,
so you gotta like pull the bread out to heat things up?
Like 8 different things of bread, various different kinds and bagels, and like, oh my god.
That's like a good like warm weather, like it's something that I think warm weather places do to keep bugs away. Is they'll put like if you have an open bag of chips, you put it in the microwave so that it doesn't attract ants or whatever.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
They say, don't put all your bread in one microwave.
That's right. I've heard that. I say the hell with them.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
What is that term? 2 breads in the same basket? That's a bad
Don't put
thing?
all your eggs in one basket.
Oh, eggs.
Yeah, eggs.
Same question though.
I like how you like combined 3 different like idioms.
Somehow you knew.
Yeah. So I think like you said, Fisher, just to set expectations, it is an Earthborne Rangers product of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
The card game.
The card game.
That's enough. It's enough. It's a good tease. Okay. That wraps up our what's happening and leads us to our featured topic. It's time for the featured topic. Desbo08. On the podcast, the team have sometimes described their personal sources of inspiration that help create new things. But can the team talk about the transition from these moments of creativity to an actual product? What does it actually take to turn imagination into reality? So we thought we'd take a little time answering that interesting question. And who would like to dive into that? Who's inspired?
That is
I did give this some thought.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Why don't you start us off, Andrew?
So I feel like for me, there's like two separate categories of it, that this can fall into. There's like the flash of inspiration, where you get like the download of like whatever the idea or image or concept comes to you, and then you can put that stuff down on paper or however you want to, or just like sit with it and think about it. And then there's like the actual doing, and that's, I think, for me, a very different process than the former. And that I think speaks to the second part of the question. Like the first part of the question, I think, at least from my point, like from my perspective, I don't feel like it's ever super intentional to, like, I don't necessarily feel like, oh, that's the thing that inspired me to do this thing. In retrospect, I might think they've been like, oh, okay, I was maybe thinking about this little thing over here, and I had this, and I had this experience, and it all kind of coalesced into this moment. But it's very rare that I can, I think, pinpoint that in that moment. It just kind of comes, and then I can reflect on it. So yeah. So for me, I think like that second part of the second part of the question, I think is the more practical and like interesting thing to discuss in my estimation, just because I feel like I've worked, I've been blessed to work with a lot of very creative people. So I've been in lots of conversations where people talk about their ideas. And a lot of people have ideas, especially in our industry. And just creative people in general, I think, you're full of ideas. But then it's the question of like, all right, you have those ideas now, that's not super special. Like this, where you really can set yourself apart from other people who just have ideas, is you do actually turn those ideas into a thing, be that a project, a personal project, like a story you write, a drawing you do, or a whole, product line that you create. So I think, I don't know, I feel like that's like that for me, that's also obviously the more challenging thing. And I think also kind of similarly ephemeral to that first part, because when I sit down to take an idea that I've had and then turn it into an actual thing, a lot changes. Like I might just go back and like look at an image, and then that might give me an idea. Or like I'll look at my notes, and we've done this recently, Fischer. I'm like, I don't even know what I was thinking when I wrote that note.
Yeah, it's been an interesting experience. On a unannounced project we're working on, Andrew took a bunch of notes and then just photographed that page of his notebook and sent it to me, which has been like, it's kind of like, I feel like I'm in some kind of like movie looking at some ancient explorer's journal as I'm like trying to figure out. Obviously I could ask you what you meant, but it's almost more fun to like create something speculating on the note in the corner.
Yeah. Well, I think like for me, like I think that's been the key to actually getting something like done, is that it's that process right there of like bringing in other people. I think I've talked about it before, but I've had plenty of ideas for like personal projects or like comic books or novels or illustrated stories, videos, all video games, like all sorts of things that I've had ideas for, that I have drawings and doodles and what have you in notebooks and sketchbooks and stuff, that really, most of them don't go anywhere, but when you bring in other people, at least for me, like that is the key to making it a reality. Like there's not only then are we utilizing all of our creative energy, but you bring your own. You guys will bring your own things to the table. You'll have your own ideas that you may have like had lingering in the back of your mind that the idea that I'm bringing forward then all of a sudden like reaches back and pulls that into the forefront. But also there's like I think a certain degree of what's the word I'm looking for? I had it and I had it and it's gone. It's like when you have like an exercise buddy, like going to the gym. Accountability. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes. So you have a bit more accountability. Like if you're bringing something to someone, now it's like now you have an obligation to see it through. Or you can be like, sorry, or we're going to put in I changed my mind. We're not going to do it, and that feels bad. So I think there's a big component of that as well, where when you bring more people on board, it becomes more real. When you voice it to those people, it's not just in your sketchbook or your notebook. It's like it's an actual thing, and that's a great way too of just seeing like getting a feel for if it's even a good idea, or like if the idea you think is cool to other people, and that it inspires them. I think that's generally a pretty good sign that you're onto something. So I think like for me, that's I guess that's the key into making something reality is that you got to at least bring it to someone and talk about it at the very least. Yeah. But then to bring someone in to collaborate on it, like that's the key right there.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
Cool.
That definitely helps. Yeah. I feel like it comes out of me when I hit a wall. Like I have this deep well of inspiration from various sources of like video games and movies and comics and other board games and other tabletop games. And I just like, I get attached to certain things. Like, I played a lot of Resident Evil growing up. So I got attached to like the survival horror, game mechanics, right? And like the fixed camera angles and like little things that are like, oh, I'd love to do something with that. But I don't like then go and immediately do something with it. It just like sits there in this well, in this like weird whirlpool of things that I've accumulated in my head. And then when I hit a wall, it just comes out of there. Like I don't feel like I purposefully draw from it so much as it just happens. Like we got to a certain point in Arkham where we had firearms in the game, and me and Nate didn't want the firearms to be like the be all end all of combat. And we didn't want to glorify guns either, to a certain extent. So we were like, all right, we need to put some limiters on these firearms. And I was like, ammo, like they have limited amounts of ammo, and it's just like in Resident Evil. And it just came out like from that well of inspiration. And yeah.
I when you talked about hitting a wall, I was thinking about like, I feel like nothing inspires me to want to start new projects like being stuck in the like end of trying to finish some giant project. Like when you're like, trying to QA the 300th card. That is the moment I get super inspired to work on some other game.
Something completely different. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like a solution. It's like a means to an end. It's like the solution to the problem I'm working on. And then it just comes out and I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I totally got that from, this other game or this other movie or whatever. That like, I thought years ago that I wanted to do something like that. And now I get to do it,
Mm-hmm. I mean, aren't we all just kind of iterating on everything we've ever absorbed? Like, isn't that just kind of what creativity is?
I don't think so. I cannot stand that philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Because I think that like everything is a remix. Philosophy is how we've gotten to where we are now, where it's just there's a lot of people just making garbage content because they don't feel like they don't feel like they're really investing any of themselves in it. It's just like, oh, everything's been done before. I'll just like throw this thing together. It's fine if I do this like super overt reference because who cares? Like there's just something about that take on creativity that I find personally offensive. Like
that's not really what I was meaning by it, but
yeah, well, I don't mean you offended me, Anders. I feel like that, but I think that kind of that idea of like that we are definitely influenced by the things that we take in, like 100%.
Well, I'm just saying,
I think there's like a special spark that make it unique to you.
Right. That's my kind of thinking is like,
oh, good.
A baby doesn't just pop out and make Earthborne Rangers. Like something was filtered through that person, but there is like an innate quality that I believe we're all kind of just in our DNA.
Yeah.
So then we're just kind of filtering. But I know what you're saying, like this kind of just remixing shit, and it's so overt. I agree with you there. But
yeah. I think it's. Oh, go ahead, Evan. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's we as humans learn skills like, we're given skills, we're given thoughts and words, kind of like we're given the clothes on our back when we're born, when we start wearing clothes. But it's like our own personal experience that kind of, allows us to choose, how that comes out and expresses itself. And it's kind of an unformed thought. So I don't have much more to say about it. Other than that.
No, that's true.
Yeah. Our brains are sponges, and they just absorb information and in this case, like sources of creativity, and that just like formulates where we draw our inspiration from.
Yeah. And we're always looking for patterns too. So I mean, our experiences can widen the net of patterns and draw in other things that may not make sense or be logical, but they make sense to you because of your own personal experience, and it fits kind of like you ID it as something that can work in your creation of something.
Well, I think this whole line of discussion actually ties in nicely with kind of my what I was going to say about the first half of this question as far as sources of inspiration, because I do agree. Like I agree with Maxine's original kind of discussion of sources of inspiration, and like that we are kind of this collection of, like I try to seek out and play almost every single like highly rated, well-regarded game because like I want to like see how people did things well, right? And like kind of absorb all of these and kind of put them in this pool of like knowledge that I have. However, kind of the answer I had been thinking about was I often don't like, it's interesting because I'll do a lot of research when I start on a game. I'll usually try to play a lot of the other games that kind of do something similar. And at first I thought, I'm looking for inspiration, but like I never found the process very inspiring, interestingly enough. Like I played a lot of really good games, but the problem is often when I play a really good game, I'm like, oh, look at this thing they did well, right? Like best I could do is copy that, right? Like they already did this so well. So when it actually comes to using that pool of knowledge of awesome things to actually inspire new creation, I think the two places I've found that most energize me, one, it's unrelated fields, like a lot of the inspiration for the Rangers world map and how it looks and how like things function is around hiking trail maps, right? Because I'm a big hiker. And a lot of inspiration from things in Rangers, a lot of the different cards you see are just from stories like that of things that have happened to me, right? And I kind of tried to turn it into this more universal and more fantastical experience. So like things outside of games that have kind of inspired that. And then the other place I often find very energizing is playing bad games. And like, not even like, they don't have to be objectively terrible, but games that do certain things poorly, I find very inspiring, because often when people fail to do something, it's because they're trying something new and don't execute on it well, but there's some like good intention there. And I often find that very inspiring. And it's interesting because it isn't necessarily I'm going to do that, but better. It can be something entirely unrelated, but like I thankfully get a lot of opportunities to play bad games because I play, like, I do a ton of play testing with people. Like, I play all sorts of, and they're bad because they're not done yet, right?
Yeah.
And like, I was play testing this prototype a couple months ago, and it's not even that related to this game idea Andrew and I had been working on, but like, I went home that night and like had this sudden flash of inspiration for this other game. And like, it's interesting because I could clearly tell I'd been inspired by this experience playing this other prototype, but like, it's just trying to think about how to solve their problems inspired these kind of new ideas as I'm trying to problem solve on this other game. And so I often think, to this conversation about remixes, I see, in a lot of pitches and a lot of like concepts, people will pitch me. This game is, it's the combination effect. This game is A awesome thing plus B awesome thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can create something awesome, but it's, it's like just taking two things they love, like that already do these things well and trying to make it. Whereas like, I think that trying to take something that has never been done well before and trying to turn it into reality is far more interesting.
Yeah. I think to that point, Fischer, I think that's because that's how you're kind of coached to pitch things. Is like, it's like this thing that's successful in the market plus this thing successful in the market equals this must be super successful in the market because it's both of these things that did well already.
Yeah, it's the most advanced yet acceptable principle, right? Like it's new but familiar, like and safe person who's going to publish this. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I don't fault people for falling back on that because it is a way of communicating to people, like what that thing could be. Because it's similar to like when we first announced Rangers, like deciding which of the games I wanted to highlight that I had worked on to kind of like put you in the right headspace for what Rangers might be.
How would you pitch it? I mean, I'm just curious. What would you combine?
So the games I chose were Arkham Horror, Marvel Champions, and Lord of the Rings: Journeys of Middle Earth. Yeah, were the three games that I used in the in the very first promotional stuff were those three games. And I think that's a pretty good mix of like sort of what you get. Though I do like talking about how unique Rangers is in so many other ways, and that's the great thing about, again, back to like the convention, being able to, that's my job at the convention, is to stand there and pitch people on the game, and each convention the pitch changes slightly, and then the pitch also changes throughout the convention as like I kind of lose steam on some of the things I'm saying. They start to sound a little practiced. But being able to talk to them about like the things that make it unique and interesting and how it subverts certain things that you might encounter in games that feel like they might be similar but actually aren't, or are similar in some ways but not in the way that you think, if you use it as a shorthand to describe what something is.
Going back to like what Fischer was saying, it's more about learning. It's not about like imitation so much as it is about learning lessons. Like they say, like to become a good writer, you read a lot, right? It's not because you're looking to like restructure the sentences and the plot points that someone else has already written. It's because the style of writing, the more you read, the more it informs your writing style and the more it makes your writing better, Yeah.
Awesome. I like this talk. Good topic. I like when we get intellectual like this.
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing from because like Fischer and Maxine and I have talked a lot. I wouldn't mind hearing from Evan more and even from you, Anders. Like, I'm not going to let you hide. For people, I know people want to know your specific how this specifically applies to your discipline, Evan. And I would be interested too to hear from your perspective, Anders, someone who is also creative and makes things.
Yeah. Well, I've never been really very good about talking about how I make art, even though I went to art school, and half of that was being able to accept critiques and talk about stuff like that. But I'll try. I think a lot of it has to do with, and I'm kind of just walking around with like a mental grab bag that's just like open all the time, and I'm not just throwing interesting things I see into it, but interesting ideas or a word someone says, or like the fold in someone's sleeve when I'm talking to them and I'm staring at their arm for some reason. Or like just a cool idea that I heard and I think about, and like, just all these things throughout the day just go into a grab bag, and like they kind of lose a little bit of their polish by being in there. And then like whenever I reach into the bag for inspiration, kind of shake it up a little bit, and so something weird comes out. I hope, something that's kind of an amalgamation of several ideas that are kind of all stuck together. So I think examples of that in the art for Rangers, like one example could be like, I think Kobo's Market is a good example, even though like a different artist did that. I provided like a sketch to work from. Because at the time that artist, at their point in their career, like they weren't super strong with buildings. They're really good at landscapes and stuff. So I was just helping them with a sketch. And that just came from like weird, different things I stuck together, and made something. And like another example is there's a biomeld. I think it's a biomeld in Legacy of the Ancestors. It might be something else. I can't remember now. That was originally something else. And I made a bunch of sketches, and they're all supposed to be a certain thing. And Andrew was like, "This is not what this looks like, but this one looks cool, and it could be something else." And and then when I took that into the final stage, I had that I could kind of add new interesting things to it. So like this, not only did it come out of like a grab bag of weird inspirations, but it became something that it wasn't supposed to be. And because of that, I was able to inject other ideas into its design and stuff.
How do you like store your mental grab bag? Like I take a lot of like my design notes. Do you like do little sketches of these things you see, or are they all just kind of in your head?
If I have a sketchbook, yeah, or I have like a Google Doc where I just write notes down sometimes, or funny ideas. Like I just heard the other day, I heard on a podcast, someone said the phrase "sun smoke," and I just thought that was so cool. I don't even know what it means, but I had to write it down. But I don't really track it very well, and I think that's to my benefit, because hopefully it helps me prevent myself from being too like treading over well-worn territory, because it's all going somewhere. It's not going away. I'm retaining it, but it kind of just bleeds together with other ideas, I guess, in my head. And as long as I keep thinking about those things, they don't really, fade away. A lot of things probably do fade away, but so maybe the grab bag is more of like a tumbleweed that I'm just throwing new things on, and some old things fall off, but it keeps rolling. I don't know.
Love these metaphors.
Yeah.
But yeah, beyond that, I guess making art, I usually try to challenge myself with something. Like recently I did a piece that had a lot of characters in it. I'm not really comfortable with having a crowd, like multiple characters in one scene. I've never felt like I've been very good at that. So that's like a goal that I try to set for myself for a piece, because I think if I challenge myself, then I'm less apt to kind of make something that's more stagnant. I don't know.
Well, Maxine has definitely helped you with that challenge recently.
Sorry.
No.
But also, you nailed it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, weirdly, my last thought on it is I feel like the creative process is kind of like improv, with like the whole yes and thing. And ironically, I'm terrible at improv. I'm so bad at it. I wish I was good at it. But I think if you have an idea and you're like, yes, and then you're less apt to just shut it down and like let it waste away. So I think a lot of creativity is allowing yourself to like, I don't know, make permutations of something that might be silly, but it doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to be crazy. It can be something cool.
Yeah.
Evan,
you're a regular role player. I don't know if you're that bad at improv.
I know, but I'm not very good at calling to mind like character specific traits of a character I'm trying to channel. I kind of get caught up in feeling like I'm not doing a good enough job, and I see other players at the table that are way better, and just like comparing myself to them, and it kind of like makes it hard for me to do the whole yes and thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I can wrap it up. My thoughts on it are, I'm kind of been a creative person my whole life, and also never done it professionally really, but I've also made a lot of stuff, mostly music. And lately I've been more thoughtful about how my process works, because I have all these songs that I've not finished. And I think that just kind of pushing yourself to the table is good for me. Like, okay, I don't feel inspired, but let's just sit down and see what happens. And then suddenly I'm sitting at my computer for hours, just so enwrapped with the process. And I think jumping around is good for me too. So like I hit a wall, like you guys said, this song sucks. I can pop over to another song, because I do all the mixing and I take hours and hours to mix every song. And then when it stops feeling fun, I stop. And then I come back the next day. I got to kind of force myself up to the table again and just see what happens. And then I get kind of hung up on like, oh my God, I have so much more work to do. Just try to like work on those mind killer things, those kind of, those things that stop you from just doing it. And the idea of just doing it for the fun of doing it for that day, instead of this like finishing a thing, that helps me too. So there you go. And as far and tools, I love the phone. I love the Notes app, and I love the audio recording app. I use those all the time. And trying to like focus on, I'm inspired to write poetry on there, so I'm just writing poetry. I don't know what this is going to be. I'm never going to release this. And then I'm stuck on a song. I'm like, what should this line be? Go through the poetry. Oh, that's a cool. Instead of like forcing myself to like come up with a lyric that rhymes and that it never sits right with me, go find something from when I was actually inspired. Pop that in there. Good to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Notes app. Like I've taken so many just random things. Like I had these thoughts. Like I've been meaning to get to this on the subject of the shadow drop. Working on some things in that regard. And on Father's Day, I kind of forgot it was Father's Day, so I was kind of planning on doing that work that day. I was like, no, I'm not. I got it. I got to take this day for myself. But I did spend about 45 minutes just in the Notes app, like with an idea that I had. It's great to throw in there. I love that thing. It's great.
Me too.
So many random, just like one sentence things that I'll just scroll back and be like, what was that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love finding those and not remembering where they came from. Being inspired once again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good talk. I liked it. And we need to move on to the mailbag, everybody. Let's open it up. We got some Rangers questions. We're going to end some Hub World questions. We might not have time for all of these, but let's just...
Yeah, there's a lot. We have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I can gray some out for next time.
Watruddle, a new questioner has arrived. I get anxious reading all of the complaints feedback. How are you guys doing reading it? And is it more or less than the first print run? Is it more or less than the first print run?
It's more because we have more backers. Like we have over 3 times as many backers as we had the first time. So proportionally, it's about the same, I would say. But kind of like what I mentioned last week, the there's some real choice backers in there who really enjoy riding us as hard as they can.
Writing and writing.
Yeah, it's definitely not fun. I mean, like that's why Corey's there to absorb that. He's better than that. And then Sean is there too. And I just kind of get reports on what people are saying as opposed to actually reading it myself, because it's only it's not really helpful or productive at all, frankly. But that's what internet comment sections are for. So luckily that we have lots of people who know what we're doing, believe in what we're doing, and are well informed and can then respond to those people in our stead, which is far preferable than us having to come in and make any kind of official statement when there's really nothing that we can say that won't be then further nitpicked or someone to have a further complaint with. So you got to kind of make peace, I think, with some of that stuff and just know that it's part of the deal.
Yeah, the production issues are challenging, like, to deal with. And you get anxious about them, but to be honest, they're somewhat, like, obviously they're somewhat in our control in that, like, we do all sorts of checks to try to catch them. We make strategic decisions about where to print, who would print with, how to work with them, like all of these things. But like at the end of the day, we're not the ones making the physical cards, right? So we can check and we can help and we can replace parts and everything, but there's only so much we can do. And it's not we're not out there printing the cards ourselves. So personally, while I find that it being out of our hands is challenging, it's also like makes it a little less personal. Like it definitely stresses me, but what really stresses me at the core level is when there's something wrong and it's my fault.
Yeah, like errata
me too,
that needs
me
to be
too.
done.
Yeah.
Like, and inevitably there will be some on Legacy, I promise you. We're a small team making a really complex product. There was some on the core set. There probably will be some on Legacy. And I almost feel more guilty now because poor Maxine has to deal with it. She's the one on the front lines, and she's dealing with my problems.
It's so good.
Yeah. No, it's exactly right, Fischer. It's like when we had the for the first print run having the punch board issue. Like it's like, oh man, that's totally on me. Like that's my mistake.
It wasn't. It was.
Well,
that was a graphic design thing, and
sure. Yeah. Yes and no. I mean,
started with me.
Yeah, we'll share the blame on that one. But like that is definitely far worse. But yeah, I think like I there's definitely like some degree of responsibility, like Fischer was saying, in that we chose the factory. We chose the factory we're working with, and we trusted them to do a good job, and that they didn't do quite as good of a job as we would have liked is disappointing. Of course, it's disappointing to them. It's disappointing to us. But I think the key again for me is like to try to turn this into as much of a positive as possible and try to bring people along on the journey and help educate them on what we're trying to do. And hopefully we don't have people like, well, I'm never going to buy an Earthborne thing again. I'm hopeful that we will, through those efforts, be able to make even more long-term customers who will then celebrate our successes going forward as production and manufacturing improves over time. I'm expecting a massive improvement in production on our next thing. Like there will be no accepting of anything less, and that has been communicated very strongly to the factory. So they tell me they can do it. I will believe that they can do it, and we're going to make sure that it gets done well. So that's my expectation going forward.
Send some of your henchmen over there to strong.
No, I think I'm just going to go over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks for the question.
We're put on platform shoes. Get real big.
You want to borrow Philip?
Let's go, buddy.
He's cool with it. All right.
That's awesome.
I'm just imagining Philip is like a minion, a yellow minion. I think
A surly minion.
a surly minion. All right. The next question comes from that guy. When designing future specialties and backgrounds for Rangers expansions, I believe it's been said there will be more. How much do rewards from previous campaigns factor into the designs?
Interesting.
Well, I can't speak to the approach in Stewards because I wasn't on the team at that point. But to me, rewards from previous campaigns are kind of like an ancillary part of the card pool that, like, you definitely have to factor them in because, for one thing, like, players will have them, and they take up a not considerable amount of design space. There's a lot of rewards, so you can't just ignore them because then you're gonna end up designing cards that are very similar and run into problems there. So I definitely keep them in mind when designing new cards and make sure that the cards that I'm designing also work in conjunction with them. Like, oh, here's a neat combo. If you have this reward from this campaign and then you have this new card, like, here's a cool combo, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that, like, the Spirit Speaker, for example, works the way it does because of the reward card Null's Understanding.
That's
it does.
fair. Yeah.
When Devi and I were working on it, one of the things we were like, this is one of the first rewards you get. It's one of the most powerful rewards, frankly, maybe too powerful. And so it's something people constantly use, and it would feel wrong if the Spirit Speaker's reward card didn't work with Spirit Speaker Rangers.
Yeah.
So we designed the whole functionality of Spirits. Luckily, it deals with mechanics that thematically make sense, so it was a nice fit. If it wasn't a nice fit, we wouldn't have done it this way, but we did specifically look to that card as we were designing that specialty.
There's definitely certain rewards that I've kept in mind while working on a particular set of cards that Fischer knows about, but I can't speak any more about it than that.
Okie dokie. Thank you, that guy. Is it okay if I skip the next one for today? Let's do this one first.
I don't know, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
You're the host. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You do you.
SM Tilson. Given that Barkham Horror was a thing,
Oh my god.
you'll need to explain that. Would
Yeah.
EBG as a company ever make a product like that in the EBR product line? What are some fun ideas you could imagine doing or never imagine doing?
So I won't answer the question, but I will explain what Barkham Horror is.
I was going to say, Maxine and I are we are the ones responsible for this product.
Yes. Yeah. Oops. I don't remember exactly how it started, but there was a desire to make something cool for April Fool's Day, and I just remember, like,
you came into my office.
I came into your office, yeah, and I like burst into your office, and I was like, "All the investigators are dogs. Barkham Horror." Like, yeah. And I was, 50% joking, but you were like, "That sounds great." So, like...
Well, I remember being tickled by it. I don't know if I said that sounds great, but it was It was like, I think there's something we could do here, because I didn't like the idea of doing like a fake. I wanted to do like one up the April Fool's stuff, because like it's everyone does like goofy April Fool's fake product announcements and like, oh, it's April Fool's Day. And it's just felt like really overdone to me. So I was like, well, what if we actually made it in like, a real thing?
I remember we had the original post of like Barkham Horror, which was exactly that. It was like a fake product. And then I remember you came to me and said, like, "What could we actually do this? Like, could we actually make this?" And I was like, "Yeah, we could." Like, are you kidding? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but I guess to answer the question, no, the answer is no. No, we're not going to do that. Not at all. Because like the whole plan, like my whole idea behind Barkham Horror was supposed to be like a charity thing that was going to be direct sale only. Like there was like, it wasn't going to be available to retailers, whatever. it was supposed to be like this special event that was going to raise money for charity. I think like Pets for Vets, I think was the one that we ended up going with, that we wanted to support. And when word of it reached like the business side, they're like, "Oh my god, we got to turn this into a real product." And then we actually had made it, and then it became like actually part of the game. I don't even know how it sits into the game, if those cards are legal or not. Are they legal, Maxine? Can you play with those cards?
We put a disclaimer in the rules that are like, Barkham Horror is a different universe from Arkham Horror. And those cards are not usable if you're playing, a typical Arkham Horror. So people still do it anyway, though.
Yeah, of course.
But like, I mean, that's part of why it's, $100 to $200 now on Etsy, not Etsy, eBay. Because like you said, we only printed it. We only did one print run, and it was all for charity. So
yeah, well, we didn't do it for charity in the end.
We didn't. I thought we did.
Nope.
Oh,
nope.
Well.
It was just sold to stores. Well. It was too difficult for the corporate machine to try to like get it to work as a charity, and then we just made it into a thing. So it kind of strayed from the original vision a little bit, but yeah, I think that's like a little bit too far. But I will say, however, if Earthborne Rangers ever reaches like some, major popularity, beyond just like our small little corner of tabletop, then, who knows? Who knows what could happen? Who knows what things might show up in Earthborne Rangers or ways that we could present that differently? Everyone's a bird. All birds.
That's gotta be
I feel like
Earthbird Rangers.
Earthbird Rangers.
Across
Oru's
development.
Big Adventure.
Or there you go. Oru's,
no.
He's gonna get back to
now
the
you're
valley.
playing it. All right. Take a Oru only expansion. You play as the dog, but everything else is the same. It's not like replacing everyone with dog characters. You are just a dog.
You just play as Oru. Yeah. I'm into it. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
Easy.
Done.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what the campaign guide would look like? It'd be so funny.
It's just Barks.
It'd be adorable.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be really easy to write. Barks
Every
and
time
growls.
you meet someone, they pet you, and that's
they
it.
pet you
That's
and they give you treats. Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, most of the Rangers gameplay would work.
Oh,
still.
yeah. No, it totally would. It would 100% work.
All right, SM Tilson, I take it back.
That's awesome.
I had a bad idea, and I'm not going to share it. Very bad.
Way to show restraint.
Okay, we've got a question about Hub World from Grizzamentum. What will be the equivalent of the weekly Ranger reports for Hub World Eidolon?
We have no idea yet.
I have some
ways
ideas.
out.
I have some ideas.
Okay.
But
are you going to throw them out into public?
Well, it's such a long ways away. But I think like what we've kind of talked about is like we can play with cards that you could like. We can essentially like ban cards for a week, or like give you like deck building prompts like with some story like, hey, this thing is happening, therefore build your decks like this, or like this card is unavailable, or like you can do more of this card. Like I think there's lots of fun things we could do to incentivize people to experiment with different deck types or different cards that they might not otherwise use by giving them little prompts every week. I think that something like that could be really cool. How that would actually like factor into any kind of organized play format or official play format, I think that's definitely up for future debate. But I think something like that would be really cool. I think that takes full advantage of the system of having like a fixed card pool where we know every card that everybody has, and we can really lean into that and keep people on their toes if they care to engage with it.
Yeah, if people like started using it with events, I imagine we'd do it. Maybe we'd change the cadence a little, maybe a little less frequently than weekly.
Yeah.
Since for competitive play, you kind of want to plan around it a little, and like events tend to be monthly or bi-weekly more than weekly for a lot of competitive games. So I imagine we might change up the cadence too, but again, this is pretty far off at this point.
Yeah, it really is. Doing something every week is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
All right, and I think we're going to do one more question, and it's from Darren the Dependable.
Oh my gosh.
He's back.
He's back.
I think it's the first one in a long while since his early retirement. When the first crowdfunding campaign for EBR launched, there was a feeling in the air that you might all be helping to usher in a new era of sustainable tabletop game production. Do you feel like the industry is in a different place now that it was 4 years ago? And what's the next step the industry needs to take?
I do think it's in a different place. I really do. There are a lot more people trying to do more like legit sustainable things and trying to experiment with different ways of doing that. It's definitely a topic that is more discussed, I think, even among just gamers themselves, not just publishers. So I think we're definitely in a different spot where we are. Like, so, but I think, for the most part, though, the manufacturing is still in China. Like that's the next leap I would love to see people make, is to bring some more of that, like whatever they can make at like U.S. facilities, start to do that here so that we can continue to improve upon that competence stateside, and we can get better at making things. So the more jobs that like end up at Delano, for example, the better it'll be for everybody. Well, better be for us, that's for sure. But everyone who manufactures there, I think, would benefit from that. So I think that's like that's the next thing I think would have to change. But I think it feels very different to me, honestly. Like, and how much we've pushed the conversation versus are we just, did we just ride in on the right wave? I don't know. I don't know if it matters, but I think definitely the conversation is different now than it was 4 years ago, for sure.
It definitely is. There's, like Gamma has a committee. There's the Green Games Guide. Factories have panels at a lot of conventions talking about the sustainable options and offer more sustainable materials. It's like, so there's a lot of progress, but like that makes it sound very optimistic, but there's a lot of things that aren't as well, right? These options are there, but to Andrew's point, a lot of people aren't necessarily using them, right? We're still printing in China because it's wildly more financially viable. And a lot of people don't use those materials. I think, those are becoming more available. And that's a good step. But I think getting people to use them, and I think another big step here is getting more consumers to seek them out, care about them, and be okay with a different feel than they are used to from their products. Right. Like, I know there was a lot of like, if you look at like Wingspan's BGG page, you can see a lot. They moved to more sustainable trays than the plastic trays, and there's been a lot of reaction to that. Even though, like, these are like, because like people say they're not as negative reaction to that. Yeah, like that they're not as nice or whatever, or like that Stonemaier is cheaping out on them, even though they're objectively more expensive to make the sustainable ones, right?
Yeah,
like
provably more expensive.
Yeah. And so I think people being okay with their games being wrapped in paper or closed with stickers instead of shrink wrap, people being okay with different materials for their inserts, people being looking for games that don't have like a giant mountain of miniatures with them. Like, I think that step still has a long way to go.
Yeah. I think that if there could be a turn where people would see paper as being the premium material and plastic being the cheap material, like to understand that is the truth. I think that would be a fundamental shift that happened with the majority of the consumer base that could help, I think, really turn the tide. Because like when you're looking at the straight economics of it, if you are bending over backwards to try to make your product more sustainable, but the response from your customer is, we don't like this is cheap, and how dare you, that doesn't really incentivize you to continue to do that. when you're spending more money. So not only are you spending more money, but theoretically you're losing a customer. None of those, that's like a double whammy. That sucks. Like, that's not good. That's just not good for business. But it puts you in a position where it's like, well, then screw it. Then I'll just go back to putting plastic in it, because why not? Because it's way cheaper and people liked the plastic. So inserts are plastic again. You know what I mean? So it's very challenging, I think. Which is why I think, like, again, I'm very, very, very grateful to the position we've been in, where we've been able to afford to see the mission through, to see the vision through, to actually make it happen. Because if the only thing, standing in our way is like not being able to pay for the production, right? Like, if we're in a position where all we could do is manufacture in China, then that's what we would have to do, right? So the fact that we were successful enough with our last crowdfunding campaign to really push that through, I think, was great. And we'll see how how things go moving forward. But I'm hopeful that we'll have created a strong enough base where we'll be able to continue to do just that, to manufacture sustainably as possible and do it in the States, and pay multipliers more per unit for our products than we would in China. Just because we can. So
very good, very good. Let's close up the mailbag now. How's that for a transition? Very good. Next. Okay. Thanks for your questions, everybody. That brings us to our final segment of the day. And it's called Stuff We're Into. And it's the moment most of you have been waiting for. It's my Switch 2 review.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Which I haven't played a ton of it because I love Monster Train 2 so much. It's the only thing I want to play. It's such a good game. It just gets better and better.
My Switch 2 review. Monster Train 2 is real good.
I love the Anders bait and switch.
Yeah.
The bait and switch 2. But I've spent a good chunk of time looking at this thing. I was so pumped about it. And my overall feeling is that it is a welcome upgrade to the other Switch that I loved, but it's kind of boring, and there's not a lot of games on it yet. So I think once there's some more games that I'm interested in coming out, it'll be more exciting to me. But the object itself is very nice. I like how the things pop off and snap back in. Cool. Snap back in
easily. Is that just a magnet?
Just a magnet, super strong.
Okay.
It's it feels premium compared to the last Switch. It feels like nice stuff. The Joy-Con or the thumbsticks are still tiny. So to play it without any kind of grip on here is just not comfortable, especially for me.
Yeah.
Like, why don't they just put a little bump right here? I don't
know.
It.
I liked those. Like, I never bought one, but I was always tempted to get the ones that are essentially just like you would take a Switch and then jam it in the middle of an Xbox 360 controller.
Yeah. I with the last one I got a grip case, and mine is in the mail, so I'm waiting till that comes to play more handheld. But yeah, it's kind of the games all run faster and smoother and look way better. The screen is much bigger on the handheld, which is the way I usually play. And I bought Cyberpunk for it because I heard it ran so well, and I agree it does. I just don't think I'm into that kind of game. I think
I'm surprised you bought that game. It doesn't seem like something you'd be into.
Yeah, I always try and I always want to be into those kind of games, and I think it's cool. Like, it's fun to be absorbed in this highly detailed city. Like, I've enjoyed walking around and looking at stuff. Just like, what is this little pile of rubbish in the corner? Wow, somebody had to like make that.
Yeah.
But that's not a game to me. That's I'd much rather go play a game where I'm like accessing my thinking skills and playing, So as like a thing to wander around and look at stuff, sure. And then all the missions and stuff, it just feels like, go do this thing, sit in that chair, go over there now. Now go over there. That's like the whole game. I don't know. I feel that way about all these AAA games. It's just like they're so drawn out and long, and it's just not for me. I think it's my attention span doesn't allow for it. It's impressive though, and I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna finish the first mission.
Well, instead of
On the first mission.
Well, it's like multi-tiered. There's a lot of little steps to it.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's a long intro. Like it's a significant lead up to like the real game. Takes a while.
I will say it's held my attention more than any other game of this type. So,
That's something.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'll like it if I feel like it looks good, which I do, and I can play it handheld. I might last a little longer. But I think
I'm surprised you're playing that and not the new Super Mario Kart game.
Oh, I played that too. That game also has a short shelf life for me. I don't know. Like it's fun for half an hour or whatever. I had my sister and her boyfriend come over and we played for like a half an hour, and we were all like, are we all good on this? Yeah. Okay. I will say there is a new mode called Knockout Tour, which is very fun, and I can see myself getting addicted to that because it's online play. You start out with 24 racers, other people online, and you have to, and all the tracks are connected. So like every track in the game, you can just play them straight through, basically.
That's cool.
So it's a big stretch of maybe 5 or 6 courses plus the in between. So there's like, and those parts are a little more dull compared to the actual courses. But anyway, you start out and it says you have to be at least 20th place to move on. So, and then it keeps subtracting 4, and then you get down to the final 4, and that
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like Mario Kart Fall Guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I like that. And it looks great. The animations are a lot more detailed, and it's all crisp and colorful. Music's great. Looks great. It makes me excited to play the next Odyssey. I'm excited to play that Donkey Kong game.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of not a letdown, but just like, oh yeah, this is all we wanted was just a nicer Switch, and we got it. Kind of boring though. I haven't. Monster Train 2 is very not boring to me. I think it's
Is that available on Switch too?
It is.
All right. Well, there you go.
There you go.
But you're playing it on your Steam Deck, though, right?
I think it's on Switch 1 as well. Playing it on Steam Deck, yeah. I probably have like 100 hours on that already.
Jeez.
Please play it. I think it's definitely the best game of that in that genre, and top 10 games for me for sure. All right, there's my review. Any questions? These kind of wiggle, which is kind of annoying, like the magnetic.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not good.
Like, what the hell?
That's not what you want.
And I've heard that they didn't fix the issue that caused stick drift was not fixed. Was not fixed.
But they're not Hall sensor or Hall effect sensor?
I don't know what that is, but all I know is that
okay.
I saw somebody tear it down, and they said, "Oh, they didn't fix the thing that was causing stick drift."
Mm-hmm.
That stinks.
Yeah, it probably means they're not.
I know.
That's.
Oh, I got the Switch.
They were pretty. They're pretty easy to swap out, though. I swapped out the ones on my Switch when I started having.
They also made it harder to do that. I read.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is where they can like. I heard that they can essentially if you touch it and disassemble it in any way, they can like detect that and
brick it,
turn it off.
Man,
what?
They can brick it for that?
I think so.
They can brick it.
Don't quote me on that.
I think they brick it.
It might have been like inflammatory internet talk that I heard.
One of the other things I was planning to do when I got it is swap out the whole plastic case of it, because people are already like they mold the casing and then they make new injection molded casings for the Switch, and I was gonna fully replace the outside to look all retro and stuff.
That's cool.
Oh, interesting.
I'll have to do some research to see if it's gonna get bricked for doing that.
Yeah.
It's gonna release a stink bomb, and it's gonna make your whole room smell.
I'd just be impressed if they built in a stink bomb.
This Switch will self-destruct in 5, 4.
All right, let's move on from this. Evan, looks like you're not doing much.
I'm not doing much. I couldn't think of anything that I'm into. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Pass.
That's fine. We're short on time, and if you really have not absorbed anything,
no, I just sit.
That's good. That's what you're into. That's why didn't you say that?
Sorry, yeah, I've been sitting a lot and trying different strategies, positions and stuff. So
is this like that trend where like Gen Zers were like sitting on flights and doing nothing for the entire flight?
Oh yeah,
What?
what do they call it?
it's
Raw dog in the flight.
raw dog.
it's sad that people have to
God.
relearn that because I can do that anywhere.
Just don't try to sit in a weird position, or you might get bricked. I don't know. It's late in the show. Let's move on to Fischer. Fischer playing one of my favorite games.
Two of my favorite games.
Two.
Yeah.
So I've been playing some recent games. I've been playing Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Nice.
I've been using the
Are you just
Nice.
ping pong
That's
between
so
those
cool.
two, or did you finish Super Metroid and then go on to Symphony of the Night?
I finished Super Metroid and then went on to Symphony of the Night. Well, okay, that's a little bit of a lie. I was right at the end of Super Metroid, and then the emulator's like save state thing wasn't working right for me, and it kicked me back to a save state I had like a third of the way into the game. So I was just
no.
like, well, I've
Quit.
played this
Yeah.
game before, so I didn't actually do
Well,
the
I
final
did it.
boss.
Screw that.
And then I went over to Castlevania, and I'm about halfway through right now.
Nice.
Nice.
Of Castlevania, and obviously excellent games.
Yeah.
But I haven't played these ones in a long time. I've obviously played other Metroid and other Castlevania games, derivative games from these, but I haven't gone back and played these classics in a long time. I played a lot of them on like the plane when we were at UK Games Expo and stuff. One of the things I was struck by actually was how little Metroid has changed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like I know it's kind of obvious, but like how much, when I play Metroid Dread, I'm still basically playing Super Metroid. It's so similar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't fix what isn't broken.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are Castlevanias that, like a lot of Castlevanias take a lot from Symphony of the Night, but I feel like Castlevania has changed more. I was struck by like how much fiddly gear management there is in Symphony of the Night. I did not remember that,
yeah.
that all kind of got phased out of my memory, and I remember the highlights, but like there's a lot of like swapping out gears to get a 4 instead of a 3 and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I think it kind of speaks to how safe Nintendo plays it, but also just how great Super Metroid was even at the time.
Mhm.
Like stuff's a little smoother now, but Super Metroid is still like just so much of what still makes Metroid games, near the top of the charts was there, back in the 90s. It's
Yeah.
cool.
It holds up.
Yeah.
There's 3 games that I replay like every few years. I'll be like, oh, I haven't played Symphony of the Night in a while,
Mhm.
and like that's one of them. Super Metroid is the other, and the third is Final Fantasy Tactics.
Nice.
They're
Ooh, that's
making
a
a
good
new
one.
version of.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for that.
Those are great
Yeah.
games to replay.
Yes.
So what's next, Fisher? Shadow Complex?
Ooh, Shadow Complex is a good game. I haven't played that since
like
that
that one a
originally came
lot.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on a Metroidvania path?
I don't know if I'm going to play more Metroidvanias. I do kind of want to go back to Metroid Fusion. That's the Game Boy Advanced one, because that one was
Mhm.
pretty legit.
That one's cool.
That being said, I think after this, I'm going away from the retro game thing for a little bit. I think
Monster Train
some
2?
of the other stuff some of the other stuff it's been on my list, but some of the other stuff in my life that's made it difficult to commit to a game has lightened up a bit, and so I might finally take a crack at Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh,
I
Oh,
never-
nice.
yay.
Hey,
So,
awesome.
Excited.
So be
It
prepared
sucks.
for me to talk about that
It's
in
awesome.
like in like
not
12
suck.
podcasts when I've finished.
Yeah.
Does not suck.
No, it doesn't suck.
well, real quick, Fisher, I wanted to know.
To me,
do
it
you,
does.
When you
Okay, go on.
play Symphony of the Night, are you a completionist? Do you get all the stuff, all the crazy things?
Well, I mean, I'd play through the whole second half.
Yeah.
I might not 100% it. but
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see how far I get.
Yeah.
Cool games. Maxine playing a hot new game too.
I am playing a hot new game that I talked about last week. I'm playing the crap out of Deltarune. Because I love Delta Roots so much. I will info dump if you let me, so don't make me. But
that's my other favorite podcast.
Info dump.
Info dumping.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I beat chapters 3 and 4. And then I went back and I started replaying chapters 1 through 4 all in a row. Because I had missed not missed, but I had not been able to beat the secret boss of chapter 1, and I missed the secret boss of chapter 2. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to collect everything, and I 100% it, and I did all that. So now I'm on chapter 3's secret boss. There's a secret boss in every chapter. They're all really, really hard. And actually, the secret boss in chapter 2 wasn't that bad, but chapter 3 secret boss is so freaking hard. It's basically like a little bit of a spoiler, but it's basically like, oh my god, I can't believe we're fighting this guy already. Like, it's like the final boss of the game or something on chapter 3. It's like, what is happening? So I'm stuck on that, and as soon as I'm done with the workday here, I'm probably going to go back and attempt it another 60 or 70 times in a row.
Didn't you say you already played it enough that the person you were living with told you to stop because they were tired of the music?
Yeah, a little bit. I was staying with my partner at the time, and even though the music is really, really good, it's not her kind of music, because it's very old school 16-bit sort of music. And yeah, she's like, "Can you mute that?" And I'm like, "Oh, why?"
Just you have a game that you really like the soundtrack to, and you play it a little bit louder in hopes that someone hears it and feels the same way, but then it kind of doesn't work out.
Yeah. It was Deltarune. It was that exact moment, actually. I'm like, man, this music is so good, and she's like, I don't know, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so playing a lot of that, and I also, me and her sat down and played through all of Chants of Sinar, which you guys talked about in the podcast a while back, and I got inspired by what you guys were saying, so I tried it out, and man, that game's awesome. That game is just so clever. I will say I didn't really like the last, the last language that you learn. They kind of just give it to you. They're like, all right, here you go. You can just have it. And like, here's all the glyphs and here's what they mean. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. But overall, it was great.
The last area feels a little flat compared to how well crafted the rest of the game is. I do agree with that.
Especially how awesome the third area was with like the numbers and like figuring out how their number system works, and like, it's so cool. That game makes you feel so smart.
You are so smart, though.
Why, thank you.
I'm gonna get it on Switch. Okay.
It's cool.
Yeah, I liked the demo a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Wrapping it up with Andrew.
All right. I will do that.
Wrap it up.
So I ended up downloading Cyberpunk again. Yeah, I finally bit the bullet and because it was on sale. It's been on sale. It's often on sale, and I'm often tempted to get Phantom Liberty, which is like the big DLC for it, which I had held off on because I've already played that game a couple times. And
I've heard it's really good.
The second time I played it, I really did a lot of side stuff, so I didn't feel like there was a whole lot to do. But I decided, all right, I'm just going to get Phantom Liberty. So I booted that up, started noodling around with that, and I was like, I'll just play Dredge instead. So Dredge is free on PlayStation, so I got it. And Father's Day, I played that quite a bit, and that game's pretty fun. I don't remember if we've talked about Dredge on podcast before.
I know Corey really likes it.
Yes, Corey said he 100%ed the base game, and then they ruined that by releasing DLC.
Releasing DLC. How dare they?
Exactly.
How dare they make more content?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maxine.
I was just gonna say I played a little bit of it because I downloaded it. It's free, so I downloaded it. But I didn't get very far. but it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. My son Sebastian, he played it, and he did a little YouTube video about it, which I watched, and he was like, "Oh, it does look pretty cool." So yeah, it's pretty fun. You play as this fisherman. You're like the town's fisherman, so it's a position that you're filling, I guess. And you kind of like wash up at this village, and then they, which I thought was a hilarious like narrative conceit. You wash up on the dock, and they're like, "Here's your boat, go out fishing." It's like no time to recover from your traumatic shipwreck at all. You're just back on the water.
You're fine.
But it has this. There's like this kind of like Lovecraftian kind of tinge to everything. It's not super overt at first, but you go out on your little boat. You have a limited amount of time in a day, and then when night falls, this like eyeball icon appears at the top of the screen. It's like your character's anxiety level, and the longer you're out at night, the fog kind of closes in on you, and your little eyeball starts freaking out more. And then supposedly if that meter gets full, something bad happens. It hasn't happened to me yet. And then so you have to kind of try to get as much done as you can in a day before night falls. Go back and dock your boat, sell your fish, buy upgrades, go out, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. One thing, so like with the whole, there's like a little fishing mini game that is just like timed button presses. It's like a meter, almost like a golf game. If you're familiar with like the three press golf game, where you press at the start, press at the stop, and then press to hit, and the more accurate you can get, the better your shot. It's a lot like that, where you're trying to hit a specific target on this arc, and if you get in the target space, then you do better catching your fish. If you miss it, then you lose a little bit of steam on bringing the fish up, and more importantly, it wastes time. So in a day, the clock only moves when you're doing things, and I think that's a pretty cool feature of the game. Like so if you stop your boat in the water and just look around, the day doesn't change. The time of day doesn't change at all. The clock doesn't progress at all. So you can kind of stop and think, and I do like that aspect of it.
That's cool.
I will say, however, that the days feel very, very short. So much so that I'm wondering, like on an easier difficulty, if the time passes more slowly. Because that might be a little more fun. You might be able to like take your time. But I do think also the game is trying to push you to spend as much time out at night as possible, because that's when weird, scary, interesting things happen. Like your boat can get attacked by a big sea monster that'll do damage to your boat and make you lose some of your fish or any of the trinkets you've collected off of the bottom of the ocean floor.
Yeah, I got the impression they were trying to set up. They want you to go too far and accidentally be out after dark, right? They want that to create that experience, and so I think that was part of the desire of making the day short, because otherwise the map would need to be bigger.
Yeah, but so far I feel like I've been able to avoid that, so I feel like I need to like purposefully try to be out at night, just to see what happens, if it changes anything in the story. But then there's a story that is going on in the background too, and you're like collecting artifacts for a stranger in a mansion who, whenever you bring something to him, he casts like this eldritch spell on you that you're like, "Oh, that feels weird." That I feel like it's probably going to have some kind of horrific payoff in the end. But it's pretty good. I think it'd be a really great handheld game. I think it's I think far better than like sitting on your couch in front of the TV. It feels like the loop is fast enough where you can sit down and be like, I'll play a day or two, and then you just set it down. I think that's probably how the game is best engaged with. But so far so good. I don't know if I'm going to see it all the way through, but I'll probably play a little bit more and see if it hooks me. But it's definitely got that like one more day. Like I'll do one more day to try to get a little bit more fish, so I can get a little bit more money, so I can get X and such upgrade for my boat.
I love a good loop like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
SteamWorld Dig 2, anybody?
I love SteamWorld Dig 2. It was great.
Oh my god, me too.
Yeah, that game was fantastic.
Great loop, everybody. Brings us to the end of this loop of Earthborne Games Podcast. I'm your host, Anders Carlson. Joining me was Evan. Goodbye, Evan.
You got to get our adjectives.
I'm sorry, something important came up.
Okay.
That I had to take a call on.
I'm glad you did that. But we're just saying goodbye now.
Okay, well, I'm glad I made it for that. And I apologize.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. This has been a very fun episode. Go get your Earthborne merch ASAP.
That's right.
And anything else we want to announce? Nope. Okay.
No more Shadow Drop announcements.
Okay.
No.
All right. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.